Welcome to Surrender School.
So let me talk just a little bit about what we've done so far. We worked step 4, bunch of people, and once again, some people that came in, 4 is usually a lot. This time, not a lot because we were looking for something very specific. It's still a lot, but it wasn't like this overwhelming thing because we're looking in essence for one thing that we were going to work on. And then when we did step 5, we were sharing with someone so that they could help us come up with the one thing that we're working on. Most people came up with 1, maybe 2 or 3, so that you've got something specific. Now that may change this week. It's entirely possible that it will change, or it'll be the one that was 2nd or 3rd on your list, and now suddenly it's the one that shows up at the top. So let me talk just a little bit about as we're working step 6. I'm going to introduce you to concepts as we go through step 6, so that by the time you're finished with it, when you're working with someone else on step 6, you don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it, because I'm going to change, alter the way that you look at character defenses or character defects. I want to change the way that you look at that so that you're able to see it more clearly than you have in the past. And once again, as I go through the slides today, the goal at least is to get you to the point. I'll say this out loud and you don't have to say it like this. When we're finished with step 6, I want you to be able to, I'll leave the profanity out. I want you to be able to say, I am absolutely entirely ready to have this defense gone. What I say myself is I am fucking ready to have this gone. And there's a lot of energy behind that, because when I am ready to have it gone, I am entirely ready to have it gone. Now, some of this comes from the fact that Michael Naylor says, if we really want to change, we work on one thing at a time. And so that's what you're going to be doing. And I'm very excited about that. So this is like, remember you probably don't, you're probably too young to remember this, but when they first brought these HGTV kind of TV shows on, they did mashups where it was like, 2 different kinds of styles coming together. That's kind of what this is, a mashup, which means nothing probably to any of you, but maybe it does. Maybe you were raised believing in mashups. I don't know. I'm back in where I grew up, and nothing is the same. And it's so weird. We drive around and it's like nothing's the same. So anyway, and it's okay. I have like almost no collection. I did go to my parents' graves this morning. That was heart wrenching, I'll say. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. By the way, there is no breakouts today. And the reason that there are no breakouts today is because there was no homework. So we're not going to do any breakout today, but we will start the normal breakouts, which is 4 to 6 people in a room next week, because you'll have an assignment at the end here. Okay, so the mission statement of Surrender School. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We have a lot of people from other programs in here as well. And so it's a healthy relationship with basically yourself and the world, I guess. All right. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. All right. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do adhere to the spirit of the traditions. All right, here's everything that we offer. Currently in session is this course, the Supercharge Your Recovery, Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. We also have office hours that are related to this on Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, Monday at 4 p.m. This week, we will have the Monday and Thursday, even though I'm here in Omaha, someone else is going to do that, but we will not have the Monday 4 p.m. That will be canceled this week. Okay, first Friday Enneagram session will begin in October. Michael Naylor is teaching some courses for the Enneagram Institute. So he's delayed that until the beginning of October. We do have the book study, and once again, book studies you read on your own. Reading rooms, we literally read the book together. So the book study, The Alchemy of the Enneagram and Transforming Addiction, with Michael Naylor, who wrote it, are different Mondays throughout monthly. It's monthly and it's on Mondays, but it's different Mondays throughout the year. So take a look at that. See the website for details, because it actually has the correct dates on there. All right, and then the reading rooms are where we read together. Drop the Rocks is Wednesday at 3 p.m. And I think I think that same time slot is going to be the Ripple Effect once this book is finished. Is that right?
Yes, actually, we started Ripple Effect this last week.
Okay, awesome. So it's Drop the Rock Ripple Effect, which is the follow-up book to that. The AA 12 and 12 Tuesday at 1:30, and then Emotional Sobriety we're reading on Tuesdays and Wednesdays between 8 and 9 in the morning. When I'm there, we get about 2 pages a week done. When Dave is in charge, we get about 20 pages. So you figure it out. Anyway, all right. So we just wrapped up the second one here, the 30-day intensive daily recovery from May 1st to May 31st. Those are all recorded out on the website. I have heard wonderful things back on this. I went to the first couple of days and then my world blew up a little bit. So that's me. It made me wish that 30 days before then I had taken this so that I was handling all the shit going on in my life better than I'm handling it, but I'm doing okay. All right, and then the 12 steps in 12-week step study is about 3/4 of the way done, something like that. But drop by any time and you'll catch up, and it's a study. And once again, that is at Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then beginning on October, Michael Naylor and I are going to be doing the First Friday Enneagram Exchange, which is kind of a podcast kind of feel to it, but it is it also include question and answer. So that's kind of nice, and it will be recorded and out there. So that's exciting. All right. Everything that we have to offer, consider taking, experiencing, working, and attending taking the workshops or book studies, experiencing the meditations by steps. We have those out there. Working through the step study alone or with many of the step studies. We have several out there. And then also attending an in-person retreat. We don't have dates yet, but in 2026, there will be an in-person retreat in Las Vegas that will Surrender School will sponsor. All right, and all of this can be found on the surrenderschool.org website. If you'd like to volunteer for something, reach out to Lori, and there's lots of volunteer, and we have wonderful volunteers and lots of people that are delivering the work here. So consider being part of that group. All right. If Surrender School has helped your recovery, consider donating. There's a donate button out on the front page of the surrenderschool.org website. So please do consider donating. Okay, also, there is a WhatsApp group, so consider joining the WhatsApp group so that you can kind of communicate with other people, and also sign up for the daily Ennea Thought from the EnneagramInstitute.com. You can get 2. So I get the 8, which is me, and the 5, which is my husband, and I read my 8 every single day, and it always gives me something to focus on about spiritual growth, which is very helpful. And some days it's like amazingly helpful. All right. Let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and to feel your feet on the floor. The goal of this is just to be present, be 100% present. Let go of everything that went before and anything that's coming up down the road. And let's say the set aside prayer together. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, so the goal of this class is a personal journey. Our focus is to help you understand the relationship between your false self, which is that ego structure, and your true self, and to treat yourself with 100% unrelenting compassion because you're human. Hold on just a second. There we go. All right, because you're human. Now, some things to keep in mind. You work the steps by type. That's what this session is all about. That's what these sessions are all about. So take the test if you haven't already. It'll guide you. We do believe that if you do the work, your recovery will be supercharged. Because we believe that self-contempt stops spiritual growth, I will often remind you, right, to be kind to yourself, to be loving, to be kind to other people, obviously. That almost goes without saying. Okay. I talk a lot about inquiry because inquiry is just another way for asking questions. And so as we work through this, we're asking questions all the time. And that's something that's been added to your recovery this time around, because not are you just filling in matrices, you're also answering questions. And the reason that we're doing that is because inquiry allows us to see patterns as patterns and projections as projections. And the way that I explain projections is the stories that we tell ourselves become the stories that we tell ourselves. And the more that you see these, right, then the less that you believe in them, and the more you can let them basically allow your greater power to help you break those down and dissolve those. All right. So we're going to do some sharing right now, and that's any shares on step 4 and 5. So we're sitting here. We got about 15 or so minutes to share. If anybody wants to share on their experience this time around on step 4 and 5 before we move on to step 6 and 7. So I'm going to stop sharing. Joy, go ahead.
Someone brought up in a surrender school session very recently about step 4 and why it may be maybe even 5 triggering to us. They said that maybe you mentioned that, and I just wanted to share when I was doing this and I was learning the Enneagram even at a deeper level from you, and doing some work on my own, I was triggered. It put me into a state of depression. And I was sharing with my sponsor and others, including my husband, because I had never experienced the despair I was feeling. And the reason why I was feeling that way, looking back on it, because now I have a new freedom that I've never had before in life and with food both. I see that the reason why was because I was bringing a hammer to myself. I was beating myself up with all the things I found. I used to feel like I was a really nice, good person, a very people pleasing. I want to make everyone happy. No one gets me. That's my full intention. I don't see, manipulative. I never thought I was. All the things that I learned that I am in these fourth and fifth steps, if I really look at myself and I begin to see that all my problems have always been, not are they now, but they've always been of my own making. And here's the beautiful thing, guys. Step 6, beginning with step 6 and 7, that is what led me to the freedom. I know now where to give who gets to get my defenses and what I need to do. So it sets us free if we stick around and do the work. I just wanted to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Jasmine, to you.
Okay, so it's no doubt in my mind. I feel like Supercharge has saved my life because I've been high tight for the last 2 weeks, off and on, intermittently high as a kite. And I've been trying to fill the hole in my soul with a relationship. That's what I do. And I found out the one thing I need to work on is victimhood and martyrdom. Because what happens is I start to get like depressed and hopeless, and I'm trying to outrun it. So I'm trying to escape it because in my mind, I'm like not accepting life on life's terms. It's just like too hard. I don't like reality. I don't like it. And then I start to want to escape it because I'm feeling like victimy. And then that's when it goes south. But I'm able to see that I have a will problem and a control problem. And I'm beginning to see how much I need to work my steps 1, 2, and 3 fervently, rigorously, because my life depends on it. Because there's this whole cycle that goes on within me, and it is from the inside out. And I don't know. As much as I would like to say that I know I'm powerless, and I know that there's other forces also at hand, and that's another reason why I need God, because it's something on my bloodline. But no, I was saying sometimes I couldn't even focus on eating, or I was skipping meals. I wasn't doing housework. I was just really sinking, and just sticking to doing the work helped me to like stay somewhat on the wagon. And so all this to say is that I learned exactly where I need to focus. Like that one thing is helpful because if I can catch it at that stage, I can avoid the whole cycle that starts to happen. And which leads to the addictive and the seeking and the craving. So today was the day that I told this person, like, this is destroying me. Like, it has to stop. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sorry that, it went on and your feelings are going to be, impacted and things. But if I don't do this, then, yeah, I'm going to destroy myself, and I know myself really well now. And so, of course, it wasn't appreciated, but I feel relieved, but also very empty right now, and vulnerable. I feel very vulnerable. And spiritually, I feel like it was a sacrifice for my healing and my recovery and my covenant with God, but also like it is so hard because I know I'm about to go into withdrawals and start that thing all over again, and it's painful, but I have to do it because my own will doesn't work, and I was in my will, and I passed.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, and I think a lot of us have that. I mean, I think this is a natural belief to have that the right path is an easy path, which is bullshit. Because sometimes the right path is the hardest path, right? It's like, oh, but the beauty of this, I have a slide later that I saw a quote and I loved it. And it said, the magic that you are seeking is in the work that you are avoiding, right? And the other thing that that says is the magic you are seeking is in the work you are doing. It is in the work you are doing, right? So it's like, yeah, so I was just thrilled that you said that you're doing the work, because doing the work, and once again, the work this time around isn't heavy duty. It is like one thing, work on that, right? And so even if you're behind just that, right now we're going to pick out a one character defect. I'm going to probably have you work on 2 or 3 or 4 so that you're there this week, but it's just the beginning of it. And then I add other pieces as we go through step 6, when it's time, we are entirely ready when it's time to invoke your greater power, whatever you determine your greater power is, to really kick it into gear. Because almost all of us have realized in some form or other, I cannot do this by myself. I cannot do it by myself, even with a group of people. I need a greater power, something smarter, wiser than I am in order for this to work. And it took me many, many, many years to figure that out. And I can't say like every day of my life I figured it out. No, I did, because I'm human. Yeah. So, and all of us go through this. So, yep. But we have strong days and weak days, and we just take a deep breath and love ourselves through it because we are loved. All right, Jennifer, to you.
Thank you. I love this. And I'm going to crosstalk just a bit because this morning on a meeting, I actually shared something around this. And I talked about one of my spiritual teachers about a decade ago when I was just moaning, like I tend to do even to this day, about how I just haven't gotten it yet, right, on the spiritual path. And faith, faith and trust. Why can't I have faith in my higher power, who I believe in, and all this? And he said something that really stuck with me, which is, you are one of the most faithful students I have had. You show up every day and you're doing this work. You just think it's supposed to feel good and that you are supposed to have some lack of, like this perfection in this place to arrive. I'm gonna learn how to say the story because it speaks to what you're talking about, and it's really hard for me not to connote that it doesn't feel good or I have slips or any of that with I'm doing it wrong. And that all of my teachers say just what you said, and I love the quote, the magic you are seeking is in the work you are doing. So maybe that's the pithy way that I say that, but that's not why I came on here. Why I came on here is because I have been writing in my head my testimonial for the surrender school that it finally took after literally 20 years overtly of work around the word that was a dirty word to me once upon a time, which was surrender. Like, are you serious? Mm-hmm. That it's like finally going to this school is allowing me the benefit and the fruit that the 12 steps are about. And for the first time this week, and I'm a meditator and I have been for a really long time, but part of my morning practice has become asking for help. There are situations that baffle me and that are repeat situations, and they, keep repeating. They're ones on my lists, all of that. Mm-hmm. And instead of what I usually do, which is wake up at 4:30 in the morning and start to solutions, creating the solution, thinking them through, ruminating, and all of that, I said, okay, wait a minute. I don't know what to do. Let me say that. I don't know. Please help.
And even as I say it right now, this feeling just opens up in my solar plexus because that's the one thing I've never done.
Yep.
It's always, I don't ask for help. I don't even ask my higher power for help because I'm gonna do it, right? Thank you. I love you, higher power, but I'm gonna take care of this. So then where that brought me this morning was an exchange that I had with someone, and they had asked me to do something a while back, and I've just been busy, 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 and saw that they texted, looked, it's like, oh, okay, and then now it's Sunday, and come to find out that it was timely for them. And I recognize now in hindsight that it was shame that came up. And the text that I sent back started with some kind of little passive aggressive, like, I've been so busy, or, just a really nice way of doing what is all in my inventory. And I realized that it's shame-based, and I stopped for a minute and I backed up and I simply said, I'm sorry that I didn't do this thing. And even now, as I say that, that is a huge step for me. And where this work has taken me, and what I realize is that my blind spots are because I haven't been able to be compassionate or empathetic with myself because of my defects and my defenses and my imperfections. And so, of course, I'm going to project them out. And of course, I'm going to say my little things just qualified, just so they know that it really wasn't that I was a bad person or just didn't do the thing, but it's because of all of these other things. And I had this compassion for myself for the first time. And I'm like, oh, this is what they mean, like how with your best friend, and that you wouldn't shame them. Food and a desire to eat came up immediately with that shame. And that's what helped me stop and realize what I was about to do. And do you know that the craving went?
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I want to say, we believe God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. Freedom comes first. From that are days of happiness and moments of joy. We tend to believe that, like, every moment there's going to be rainbows and birds are singing, and that's not called life. That's heaven. That's not life. That's not life here on earth. So it's like, so I think so much of it is that, but I'm telling you what, if I can live free and I can have days of happiness and moments of joy, that's a damn good life. Right? It absolutely is. I cannot wait for the training that I'm going to do today for you, Jennifer. I cannot wait to introduce you to that. I'm so excited. It's like you're my straight man who set all this up so that everybody's ready for it. So thank you for that. All right, Robin, to you.
Wonderful shares. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to check in about the experience of having the kind observer. Last week, when it was over, I just felt kind of drained. And it was a new experience because in my previous fourth and fifth steps, didn't get much feedback. It wasn't, if I asked for feedback, or then there might be a dialogue. But I was really quite amazed how much my kind observer nailed it. And it was kind of affirmed last week because I'm a type 2 as Joy is. And my kind observer said the same thing to me, that what she saw was abandoning myself. And I see it, and this week has been I feel like this week has been a supercharged week. The awarenesses I have. So the first influence, though, that has helped me to is Michael Naylor, because he does have these exercises and I've been doing them for months now. And so that came up. But asking, like, for example, one of the things that type 2s can do that I can do is that I'm developing greater emotional honesty. And how that form that takes is that I tend to ignore the feelings that are difficult and think that they're somehow the defect, that why am I, for example, this week, why am I feeling resentment toward my stepson, who I've done all this work on, right? I've done all this work. I have grown so much. I've been in Al-Anon forever. And Michael Naylor, I loved it when I still chuckle when I read it. He said, anyone in recovery is a type 2. He didn't say that, but he said, hightail it into Al-Anon. Well, I've been in Al-Anon for a long time. I've been practicing these things for a long time. But what but I still need to work on them. And I feel like I'm able to do that. So when I had some resentment toward my son and I talked to my sponsor about it, she said, oh yeah, you're human. You have feelings. It doesn't mean that you haven't. And I am able, it's not having the feeling. It's that by the next day I'm writing about it, I'm praying about it, I'm talking to my sponsor about it. And that's what matters. And so what I really glommed on to what Joy said was about not what's different now is that I don't need to use a hammer. You know, I am so much gentler. And I think that's the compassion you're talking about, and I think it kind of relates to the 3 A's, you know, awareness, acceptance, and action. The acceptance piece is very tied in with that gentleness, you know, being able to so I asked myself this week when I said, am I abandoning myself? Somebody wanted to do something with me and I didn't want to. But I very carefully wrote about it to the person, made my own decision around it, felt really good about it. And then I didn't hear from the person for 2 or 3 days. So what I get out of that is that's that practically immortal piece of it, that even though I'm making changes, I still have that tendency to be, well, why haven't I heard from them? And what's going on with them? Well, I'm really aware of that too. I mean, I'm aware of my awareness that I'm doing
right.
my old behaviors, right? So,
Yep.
So anyway, it's such a joy. And I know that the solution for me, being somebody outwardly focused, being dependent on others' opinions and having that tendency is what I'm working on. I have questions about it being so broad that, you know, abandoning myself, you know, it's an umbrella for, you know, perfectionism and people pleasing and manipulation and denial of anger, which I had experienced this week.
And we will narrow that down, because that is so broad, because it's going to be like specific examples of that is how we will narrow the ones that are broad like that will narrow down.
Okay.
Yeah, because especially because if habits of a lifetime like that's a giant one that has, you know, 14 pieces in it. Let's work on each piece. And Michael Naylor does that as well, right? He's working on like some very specific. So yeah, Robin, that's awesome. I want to tell a quick 2 versus 8 story. A friend of Joy and mine passed away and her family came into town. You know, it was all women. So they came into town. And Joy, no kidding, took a person to the airport on Tuesday at 4:00 in the morning, and then took a person to the airport on Wednesday at 4:00 in the morning. And I was giving her shit about it. I'm like, seriously, who gets up that early? That's ridiculous. You have to pick them up at 3:30 and drive them to the airport. She said, what would you do? And I'm like, I would have said 4 in the morning. Okay. Anybody else going at 4 in the morning? You two coordinate, because I'm taking one trip to the airport at 4 in the morning. So you coordinate or figure something else out. And that's what an 8 would do, right? And even the 4 in the morning is a lot, right? But Joy is just like, okay. I'm like, geez. But she does get up early. What can I say? That's the difference between a 2 and a 4. And that is abandoning yourself, right? Seriously, right? Because then she was losing sleep and all. Anyway, go ahead, Robin. I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's all right. I mean, and what I love about recovery, and I love that how much they complement, how much they interconnect. So the whole week, everything that happened related somehow to this course, you know. So I'm in OA too and Al-Anon, and I go regularly to meetings in both. And I just thought this was the greatest quote for today, but it totally relates to the experience of doing the 4th and 5th step. So here it is. Nothing is so strong as gentleness, and nothing is so gentle as real strength. I just thought that was profound. And the reading, of course, is profound, and it all connects together, which is what
Can you read the rest of that? That was an awesome reading. Can you read the rest of that for today?
Oh, just read the reading?
Yeah, read the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is really good. And it's May 29th. If any other members of OA have their For Today book. Real strength does not use force or bullying threats. Being strong is giving myself gentle support that allows me to grow beyond my present capability. Strength is seeing the truth about myself in an accepting, loving life. That's my favorite. It is
Yeah.
doing what is necessary with kindness and respect for myself and the people around me. The truly strong have no need to be hard or unjust toward themselves or others. The truly gentle have great strength for themselves and for those who reach out to them. And then for today is, I see my growing strength in the gentleness and consideration with which I treat people, including those who are closest to me. And anyway, so I, then you're open to all of these ideas. And I happened to be listening to Michael Naylor do the instincts, which are still pretty confusing to me. But anyway, and it was people asked questions, and I got to hear some people. And one person, I don't know if I should say who it was, but it was Melissa. She said, I love your gentle language, right? Or gentle listener. I mean, there's so many beautiful words to put gentleness with, because there's so many ways to be gentle. So anyway, and we do it in program all the time. And that's what the fifth step is gentleness.
Absolutely.
Nobody says, the person I read to said, oh my God, did you really do that? I mean, that's the opposite of what happens at fifth step. So anyway, I've talked long enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Vera, to you.
Yeah, really hard week. I've been sleep deprived, which makes this looking at what I had identified, which was impulsiveness, and not sleeping, like sleeping 2 hours a night it makes it harder. But I got to write a lot of letters that I didn't send, and which was good. And I got to catch myself in the act, not always very successfully. And I'm really looking forward to step 6 because I was sleep deprived. It was very often not easy to remember asking for help, asking for it to be removed. And so I got to see in real life what it feels like to not ask for help, and this impulsiveness.
Yeah. And then when we get to step 7, you'll be ready to ask the right way, which is good. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I guess what I also realized was that I have to have an alternative, that there needs to be a discipline with impulsiveness, that I need to learn skills so that I don't get paralyzed. Because, I mean, it's not okay to be impulsive because all my other character defenses come up because of impulsiveness.
Absolutely.
Very quickly. It's like, it's the pause, right? The pause that I don't have.
That's right.
But then what do you do instead? Because being passive doesn't seem to be the answer, that, I mean, I have to function. And
we're going to work on that as well. So
yeah. And
seriously.
I just wanted to share that I wasn't very kind. I realized that I wasn't being very kind to myself because I sent my mother and one of my daughters to do the Enneagram course. They're not in recovery. So, it seems, and one of my daughters, and she came back and she has it the exact same number I have with all the sub numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And she triggers me like no one. So that's because I'm not kind to myself. I can see how I treat her, which is, I see the same things. So that's not easy either.
All right.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vera. Okay, we are going to move on. Let's see. Let me share my screen again and let's move on here. So be sure to stay for the assignment. There will be an assignment at the end. There will be no session on July 6th here in the United States. That is our long 4th of July weekend. So there won't be a session on July 6th, but fortunately there are 5 weeks in June. So we're right on track. All right. I'm going to do this. I covered this in the very beginning, but a lot of people I think have lost this a little bit, and I want to go back to it so everybody kind of understands. So this is my simple understanding of the Enneagram and how I use it in my 12-step work. So first of all, I think that's such an adorable picture of that baby. We are born as a baby and we are born as a type. There is a specific type. So throughout history, all of history, it doesn't matter where in the world it is. It doesn't matter what period of time it is. There are basically 9 types of people. That has always been the case. It will always be the case. There are basically 9 types of people. And you are born a specific type. What happens as a result of that is that baby, and I'm going to give an example. So the baby isn't picked up for 2 minutes. They've soiled their diaper and they haven't been picked up for 2 minutes. By type, they don't have language yet, but you'll get it. By type, the baby has a different response to that. So the 1 might basically go, well, this is perfect, right? The 3 is like, are you kidding me? I can't live in a soiled diaper. The 8 is like, looks like I'm going to have to take care of this myself. The 7 is like, oh, this feels kind of good, right? I mean, it's like completely different because of the type that we are. Okay. And as a result of that, what happens is that because we have this ego structure that begins to be built, the ego structure gets built up, right? And that's fine because it's defending us. And as a child, we couldn't even survive a playground if we didn't have an ego structure to defend us. So it gets built up to defend us. The problem isn't that there's an ego structure. The problem is that we do what the ego structure says, and we believe that it is us. We believe that we are our personality. We believe that that ego structure that is doing all that stuff is us. And it's actually just a defense to protect us that has been built up over time, and we don't recognize that. So once we come here and we begin to recognize that, if you view it like a shell on the outside of you as a person, if you crack that shell, which is what 12 steps do, right? We don't, different language for it, but it's cracking that shell. I can get inside and I can start kind of working on getting rid of the stuff that isn't me and recognizing who my true self is. Now, in my opinion, the first time or two through the steps, right? I mean, the 12 steps busts our balls. In my opinion, it's supposed to bust our balls. Maybe there's other people that don't need that to happen. I did. I had to come here on my knees. I don't know anyone who came like, oh, maybe I'll try 12 step. No, it's like, I cannot do this myself. I need something else. That's when we come. We're on our knees, right? So what happens is we have to put the fire out. There's a story in the big book that talks about, I thought it was the guy's hair's on fire, but actually his pants are on fire, right? And he says, jump in the water, right? He's on a bridge, jump in the water and put the fire out. Don't worry about why it's on fire, right? You're wasting all this time. Why? But now what happens, now that the fire is out and we have cracked that shell, right? What has to happen is we have to begin realizing that those and it doesn't mean we're not accepting responsibility for our behavior in the world, because we have to. But I can certainly say, instead of this being a defect of character, instead of this I'm somehow broken, no, it's working as designed. The problem is I'm looking at it differently. Usually what happens is we find all these things and we finally are admitting all the shit that we did, and then we hate ourselves for it. The problem is that self-contempt stalls spiritual growth. We can't, at least for me, it's like my higher power says, you can grow spiritually or you can hate yourself. You choose. I'll wait. Well, I'm choosing spiritual growth. I spent lots of years hating myself, didn't work. I tried to hate myself to recovery, and it didn't work. So now I'm going to love myself through recovery. Some days are successful, some days I'm not so much. And that's when we came up with this group of people inside of Surrender School came up with this idea. Hey, what if we work the steps by Enneagram type? Okay, so that's where we sit today. We are through with step 5. We finished up for it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to talk for a minute about, okay, now let's apply that learning so that we can move on to 6. So the first thing is an admission or an understanding that I'm wired a certain way. I am wired that way. And that means I was born that way. I'm wired that way. It is the way I look at the world. There's all kinds of other things that happen in the world that twist and turn and do whatever. But if I can take all that away, I was born wired a certain way. My ego structure defends me in a way that is related to the way that I was born. It doesn't mean that that's why as an 8, I'm out there, I'm bold, I'm whatever I am, right? You know me by now. I am that, because that's what 8s are. And most 8s, and 8s aren't mean, although they usually get a reputation for being mean. I don't think, I'm sure I had a reputation in my life for being mean. But anyway, the ego structure defends me in a related way, in a way that is related to the way that I'm wired. Okay, I needed that as a child just to survive, but I now realize that I am not my ego. Because in program, it talks about the ego. Sometimes people will make the ego almost evil. I don't think it's evil. I just think that it's not supposed to be in charge. It's not supposed to be running things. It does protect me. Thank you for that, but okay. So the next step is, this is where we're sitting right now. The next step is to notice when my ego jumps to my defense and go, right? And then that's where the pause that Bill W. talks about, it jumps to my defense without my permission, right? And I want to be able to have that pause that say, oh, no, you don't get to be in charge here. Because our goal is to let the best of me run the rest of me. And that's from Ellen Berger. That's what I want to do. When that defense jumps up, in my case, it's anger, right? This roaring anger. I want to be able to say, nope, nope, nope. Thank you, ego. I don't need you right now. I did need you as a child, and maybe I'll need you again. I don't know, but I don't need you right now. Thank you. Appreciate the work, right? Okay, so that's where we're sitting. That's where we sit as we move to this next portion. And here is the magic you are searching for is in the work that you are avoiding. So if you have been avoiding doing the work here, I'm going to reword that. And I am going to reword that, Jennifer, like you did. The magic you're searching for is in the work you are doing. It is. It absolutely is. Okay, so I want to remind you. And by the way, one of the reasons that we wait to do the work, you may not even be aware of this, is because you're afraid, because you've always been judged by yourself, right? You don't do it well enough. You don't do it successfully enough. You don't do it every day. You don't do it every minute. You're not absolutely perfect. You're not blah, blah, blah. And so there's all this judgment that comes down. So it's just easier not to do the work, right? And then I can just beat myself up about not doing the work. So it works. It's pretty simple to do that. No. And don't even beat yourself for not doing the work. If you're not ready to do the work, that's fine, right? It's fine. But the idea is as we do this work, your job is only to be aware of it. Don't judge it. You just notice it and don't judge it. And if you can laugh at it, it's even better. I think that's even cooler. All right, let's talk for a second about persistent complaint. My husband always does whatever. My sister always does. My son never cleans his room. My boss never gives me credit for the work I do. The DMV always makes me wait for 18 hours. My food plan always screws me up. My abstinence never causes me to lose weight. OA never, blah, blah, blah. Surrender school never, right? This persistent complaint where the thing just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. We've all had stuff like this. You're going to identify one of these as part of what we're doing here. And it's one in your life. And I react the same way every time, which is called a fixed way of being. So let's put this together. And I want to talk about the way that this works is the first thing that happens is I have a fixed way of being. And then something happens in my life and I have a persistent complaint about it. And when those two things come together, that is something called a racket. Now I'm going to talk for a second about what is a racket. A racket is let's say it's a dry cleaner. The front is dry cleaning and the back is selling drugs. The front isn't anything like it looks like it's supposed to be, right? I mean, you think, oh, it's just a dry cleaner, but in the back is where the real business is happening. And what that means is it's not what it seems on the surface. So for this, when I talk about a racket, it is deeper than a habit. It is a fixed way of being, and we don't even see. We just are frustrated because I'm constantly complaining about this. So let me talk for a second about, I'll give you an example. So my husband, here is my fixed way of being, and I'll tell you the complaint first. My husband never would put dishes in the dishwasher. And I would yell at him. No, not yell, but I would go, how come you don't can you put the dishes in the dishwasher, please? Which is, really nice. And he told me, no, because you always move them. Every time I put dishes in the dishwasher, move them. What he doesn't know is I move mine too, but okay, whatever. Right? So my fixed way of being is to rag on him about not putting the dishes in the dishwasher. Right? And that also then, because I have this fixed way of being that is, right, if you're going to take your dishes, put them in the dishwasher, that's my fixed way of being. That's responsible person, put shit in the dishwasher. Well, not shit, but put stuff in the dishwasher, okay? And then he doesn't. So then I say, okay, so my persistent complaint is about him. Now here's what's really fascinating. What happened is I finally was just like, can you just rinse the dishes off? Which he does. And then I put him in the dishwasher. So I changed my behavior because it wasn't even worth being pissed at him all the time. It ruined my day. It put me in a bad mood, put him in a bad mood. Why? What does it matter? Right? There's something at work there. And it was a little bitty thing, but it was important enough that it could ruin my day or at least put me in a bad mood. All right. So here is what we're going to start with. It's going to seem minor, and it's minor shit that this kind of thing happens with you too, because it does. It's human. You're not going to solve it, right? And I bet some of you even said, wow, what an un-8 thing to do is not force him to put dishes in the dishwasher. It's just not important. He rinses the dishes off. I put them in. He's happy. I'm happy. All is good, right? Who cares? All right. So, but I promise not all of them are going to be you giving in. I promise. All right. All right. So the racket worksheet is this. The fixed way of being is basically, what is your view of whatever this is, and the persistent complaint is what you bitch about. Even if you never say it out loud, there's something that happens and you are complaining about it. And this happens over and over and over and over again. How do I always react to that? Right? So I'm always reacting to it. I'm showing you a simplified version of the one that's out there, because the sheet that you're actually going to be assigned for your work this week is going to have the instructions and stuff on it. So that's not a problem. Okay. When I talk about the way that we are wired and then the way our ego reacts is related to that. So the racket came from something called Landmark Forum. And I took a weekend and went to a Landmark Forum thing. And there were several things that in the weekend as a whole, I wasn't too fond of, but I really did enjoy, did learn a couple of things that really have impacted my life. And one of them is the racket. So one of the things that we do, and I'm going to go back to there, one of the things that we do is when I have a fixed way of being and a persistent complaint, something is happening, it happens every time, I react this way every time. It happened yesterday, it happened today, it happens every single Christmas, it happens every time my family gets together, it happens whenever I spend time with my cousin, it like that. There's a fixed way of being and a persistent complaint. This is a racket. What do I do about it? Here's what you do about it. You are going to analyze the cost. You're going to say, what is the cost? What does this cost you? And it costs you a decent relationship. It ruins your day. It's like that kind of stuff. And then what is the payoff? And the reason I want to talk about the payoff is because I guarantee you, if this happens over and over and over again, somewhere your ego is getting a payoff on this. Your ego is getting a payoff. You can feel superior. I could feel superior to Nick, who doesn't put dishes in the dishwasher because I always put dishes in, whatever, right? But there's some payoff, some benefit that you're getting from this. So once again, it's the fixed way of being, persistent complaint. The bitching, the persistent complaint's easy. What's the fixed way of being? It's just basically my reaction, right? I get pissed at him and I yell at him. I get angry and go in whatever. It makes me cry. It makes me sad. It makes me whatever it is. What is the fixed way of being that is your reaction? That is basically, there's something that happens. You have the fixed way of being. You bitch about it, inside or outside, whatever. There's a cost to that in your relationship. And there is also a payoff. There is absolutely a payoff, or you wouldn't keep doing it. And it may not be a payoff to your true self, but it's certainly a payoff to your ego. All right. Shirley, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Can I run, like, is this what you mean, Cher? Whenever I like to be with other people, I like to be dependent on other people. Whenever I get by myself, I always feel like worried, a lot of anxiety. And it's usually also when I have like a list of my own chores to do that I can do on my own, but I'm going to be doing them on my own. I'm not going to have a partner. My walking partner canceled on me this morning, so therefore I didn't walk. So the persistent complaint, how I react is I start to feel this anxiety and fear. And what is the cost? I'm not sure how to think into that.
So I think rather than a don't want to be alone thing, you've told me stories where your husband does something and it pisses you off. Tell me one of those stories. Tell me one of those.
Like he doesn't say thank you. Remember that?
Okay. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. Perfect. Okay. So here is the bitching is my husband never says thank you. My husband doesn't appreciate me. All right. What is your fixed way of being? How do you react to that?
I kind of like withdraw into this kind of mopey, sad.
Let's go earlier than that. Go earlier than that. You say, you never say thank you. That's what you said. You said.
Right. You never say thank you.
Okay. All right. That's it right there. He never says thank you. So you say, you never say thank you to me. Right. Okay. That probably does not make his day the happiest day he's ever had in his entire life, I'm guessing. Okay.
Right. So that's my persistent complaint. You never say thank you.
No, that's your fixed way of being. I rag on him about never saying thank you.
Okay.
Bitching is he never says thank you. So whether you put that first or second, they are intrinsically linked because it happens over and over and over and over. I mean, this is really simple shit. This is stuff that we've just accepted in our life. It's the way that it is.
Right.
Right. But somewhere in my head, I say, why are we always like this? Why does this happen all the time? And this is relationship shit, right? And it's little bitty shit that can ruin my day or make me feel like a bitch or whatever. That is that. There is a cost to that, and that is because it makes my husband and I not as close as we could be, or it ruins his day, it ruins my day. We can't even be in the same room together. Whatever you want to say is the cost, but there is a payoff to this. There is a payoff. And what we're looking for here is the payoff. This will help with step 6. We're looking for what payoff is your ego getting from ragging on him.
Well, I think the payoff is I always say to myself, you see, I always thank people. I always am
And
aware.
I'm so much better than he is because I always thank people. I'm just a better person. I can tell I will tell my ego I'm a better person than my husband because I say thank you. That.
I appreciate everyone.
And he may too. He just doesn't say thank you. So
Right.
that is the racket. And we live constantly in rackets. They're everywhere. And I've said many times about the stories we tell ourselves, but what happens is in program, we think these big picture stuff, but in reality, it's the little stuff. It's the little stuff like this. And I
Yeah.
know the dishwasher story is like, what? But I finally was like, seriously, you're going to rearrange it, Cheryl. You might as well just do it. Why bitch at him? This is ridiculous. And you know what happens now? He rinses the dishes off, wipes off the counters. I walk in, load the dishwasher. We're both happy little campers. Right? And this went on for years. Why? Anyway, okay. So yes. And now some of that, surely I'm going to come back to that. Some of it is there's a story that you're telling yourself. And the story that you're telling yourself is that he doesn't appreciate it because he didn't say he appreciated it. That may be I don't know if it's true or not, but it is certainly a story you're telling yourself.
Well, I don't
'Cause
know
there's-
if he appreciates me or not. You know, I just think I know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a story you're telling yourself. Exactly. That's what we do. We tell ourselves stories all the time. And that, by the way, to me, that's why I have to call these defenses as opposed to defects, because I want to separate that out. I am not broken, but I do have an ego that defends me without my permission sometimes. And it tells me that, right, I'm a better person than the other person because I say thank you. It's that. Okay, thank you. All right, Lauren, to you.
Oh boy, this is like stop you in your tracks kind of stuff. I'm afraid to open my mouth now. Going, what's the so I had spoken to my number 2 friend and I made a bunch of I statements and I tried to be very careful, but I think I'm starting to see what my part is because now all of a sudden she clammed up and it's become about her processing upset, even though she ditched me. So give me some wisdom, Cheryl.
This is the one that canceled on you.
Yeah, that has a tendency to do it too. And remember her family probably just said, "Hey, I'm coming to town." And so
Well,
I said that I feel, that my plans are always tenuous and in danger of being canceled. And I used chat to help me, but I think I went on too long. I think that's probably a part of it.
Yeah, I think some of that too. And I don't know that anyone else would do this, but I literally have 2 lists. People I will wait for and people that I won't wait for. The vast majority of people in the world are on the don't wait for list. There are very few people that I wait for. And wait for, I mean, make plans with. I just don't. And because of exactly what you're talking about. And I'm not mean to them. When the dates get closer, let's see if we're available kind of thing, right? Yeah.
She's on my wait list. And so part of the story is, I opened my mouth. And as soon as this is like 2-4 land, number 2, number 4 land. Whenever I express myself, or whatever, on the other end, it becomes too much. And there's too much, no matter how soft I do it, no matter. So where's
So I'm going to say something that is going to piss every 4 in this room off.
Okay.
You ready for this? Oh, and here it is. Your feelings are not their problem. They are your problem. I mean, if even as 4s, if you want to be a happy camper, you have to realize that these feelings, and they're valid. They are valid. They could absolutely be 100% valid. So this isn't trying to invalidate that. But what happens is when you put him in front of someone else, it's almost like you're saying, here, you handle this. I don't want to. No, what you really want to do is stand on a bridge and watch that feeling go past and go, yeah, that hurt my feelings. That made me feel extremely unimportant. It made me feel completely discounted. Okay. And maybe you were even discounted. Okay. That's what happened. It happens in life. That's the kind of thing that happens. But if I can do that and let that pass, then I can come here and get validated, right? Instead of expecting something from someone else where she can't do that. And then she just goes on the list of people that I don't make plans with unless it's sudden, unless like it's today and she wants to do something today. That's just somebody I don't. But by telling her how you feel, then you're expecting her to somehow react to that So there's expectations there. And once again, this might be just easier for an 8 to say that. I don't know. I don't know enough about how it feels to be a 4, but I will say, and I've lately this has been coming up. Your feelings are not their problem. They're your problem, or they're your situation, at least, even if they're not a problem.
I kind of get that, but then like the therapist said, keep it to I statements. So I'm like, well, all I can make are I statements. Like when the cancel, it's not like nothing happened. She did cancel, and at the last minute after telling me she was going and registered. And so I don't,
Okay. Well, here's the thing too. Okay. So what is the feeling that you're identifying here, right? The feeling that you have is disappointment. The feeling is maybe a little bit of fear because now you have to make the decisions, you go by yourself or not go, right? So there are other feelings that are here besides just inconvenienced, or you know what I mean? So it's almost like identifying those. But I so firmly believe we spend a lot of time, and we live in a society that believes that if I feel triggered, that's your problem. It's not my problem if you're triggered, it's your problem if you're triggered, right? And that's very different than the way the world views it right now. So it's like, and I mean, like I said, I hope I didn't piss 4s off and that they don't come back, because I really love having them here because they add so much to what's going on here. But I mean, that is one of those things. And I know with 2s that the growth of 2s, they'll say, I stood up for myself, which sometimes means they said to the other person, they didn't just say no, right? They said whatever they said, right? And they made the other person feel bad. Well, yay for you. That is not your job. You don't want to make the other person feel bad. You just want to figure out a way to make yourself feel good by not making the other person feel bad. So anyway, I hope I'm not like driving everybody crazy here, but the idea here, and once again, I think therapists will tell you to do whatever. I won't countermand a therapist, but I will say that you figuring out a way for you to deal with whatever is happening with you is a better way than expecting that person to somehow change. Doesn't mean you don't talk to them about it, but when there's no energy behind it anymore, you've completely solved it. Imagine that you can go back to that person and say, I want to let you know it did frustrate me very much that you canceled at the last minute. I understand your family was in town. I just wanted you to know that really did. I found that pretty shitty. And that's not an I statement. That's a you statement. You pissed me off because you did that. That was a pretty shitty thing to do. Just let you know, not happy about it.
Disappointing.
Disappointing. Yeah. And I think what happens is that, yeah.
Back and she said, I know you're disappointed. And I thought, I wish you would keep guessing at how I'm feeling, like and move on with it. It's not always the circus of my shit.
Okay. So once again, this is a perfect one for you to do fixed way of being, especially because she's done this many fixed way of being, persistent complaint. Let's figure it out, right? What is the cost of that? And what is the benefit? And I'm telling you, we can all come up with the cost. They're everywhere. But the benefit, most of us, as a matter of fact, when I went to the Landmark Forum, I'm teaching this in 10 minutes, so it probably seems like crazier than it was there. They took like 3 hours to teach this. And it literally was like down to that, and it's this little bitty shit that drives all of us crazy that we never know how to handle, because it happens every day, every Christmas, every time I get together with my brother, every time, whatever it is, it's like that every time that he says something, whatever it is, I react a certain way. That's our pattern. That is our racket. That is what we do. And you can be trapped in it forever. That's fine, but there is a way out. And the first step in the way out, by the way, this is what 6 and 7 is all about. The first step is to figure out what is the cost and what is the benefit. What am I getting out of this? There is something I am getting out of this. Becca, to you.
Yeah, when I think about like this, I've heard this, what am I getting out of this, for many years. And I've always kind of thought, no, this doesn't feel good. I'm not getting anything. And what came up for me today was a lot of times what I'm getting out of it is thinking that I still have some sort of influence or power over the situation, that I'm not accepting what's real, what's there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Okay.
And it's almost like the benefit is retaining the belief that I should have some sway here, right? Holding on to that belief that I should have some sway. A quick story. We went to visit my parents' graves this morning, and as we were leaving, I told my husband we probably should think about where we want to be buried and shit. I mean, I guess, right? And he said, yeah, I guess we should. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. right? He's like, I don't think it's up to you. I think everyone dies someday, right? Like, right? But there's still this 8 that thinks, no, it's not gonna happen. It's like, yeah, sure. Anyway, but yeah, that there maybe the payoff is that this retention of this belief that I somehow am in charge or something. I don't know. But there's so many things. And I hope I don't sound like I'm trying to be an expert at this, because I'm not. But I can tell you it helped me a bunch. And that's the latest example is the dishwasher thing. But I took the Landmark Forum thing probably 20 years ago. And there were so many things in my life where there were those repeating patterns that were just driving me insane. And actually from that, I don't think they ever taught to make a list, but from that, I made the list, because I make these great plans and then everybody says yes, and then people fall out, and then I'm standing there. And often it was, I catered it. And there's, it's me eating all the food for a week, right? It's like, what the fuck? So anyway, so yeah, so some of it is that. But you're going to find out all kinds of cool things, and it's all good. This is the first step, though. Please don't rush to the next. Stay right on this. Come up with 4 or 5 or 10. I don't care. Come up with a bunch of things that are these things that just, those little things that drive you crazy. That's what we're going to do, because we're going to use this in the rest of step 6. So you want to come up with a bunch of them. All right, Lori, to you.
Hi, thanks, Cher. I appreciate all this so much. I have an example similar to yours with the dishwasher. Mine is my husband would help me by putting the towels away, but he wouldn't fold them the way I wanted him to. And I'd open the laundry cupboard and I would just get fuming and have to pull them all out and properly, because I'm OCD and they got to go corner to corner and all that stuff. But as a type 9, I never said a word because don't want to bring conflict up. But boy, did that stew inside of me. And now looking back, I know the passive aggressiveness came out and caused all kinds of discomfort between us. And I did over time finally realize who gives a crap how they're folded and let it go. Like, this was many years ago, but that's just an example of that. And just over, and the other one was thanking him. It was discussed earlier. And asking him, because we were, he didn't always pick up on what needed to be done around the house. He was a male, wasn't always taught that way. But so I had to ask him to do things, because the floor could be covered this thick in hair and he would never think to vacuum. But if I asked him, he would willingly do it. And it just was learning those ways of communicating. And I guess that was just really early on, understanding that we communicate differently. And it still evolves into today, where I'm just learning with this program and regarding my being present in the moment and communicating and putting it in words. Don't just hold it in and then be passive aggressive. I think passive aggressiveness is one of the worst personality traits, and to find out that I'm very, very guilty of it, it was heartbreaking, but it gives me motivation to change. And I'm so eager for all of this. Thanks, Cher.
Awesome. And I want to say, I'm glad you brought that up, because just like I said, I ragged on my husband, right? That's a very 8 thing to do. Lori didn't say a word, but inside she's got all this shit going on. So we react according to type, right? 9s will hide away. 1s will keep score. Right? I mean, everybody, it's like different people. It's like your type is how you are going to react to that. But it ruins your day, or it makes you feel less than, or it makes you whatever, right? Those emotions are. And so please don't think that I'm saying, I don't want to, I'm sure you would do this anyway. Everybody writes down, I ragged on my husband, because everybody does at some point, right? I don't want that. What I want is whatever the situation that drives you crazy, and then how do you always react? And Becca, that comes even back to the thing that you were talking about, right? Because some of the times what will happen is we put on that happy little whatever it is, and right, and nines do this by checking out, but there's something that says that's not the way life's supposed to be, so I'm just, and 3s do this big time, that's not the way life's supposed to be, so I'm just going to kind of ignore that, and right, and then we pay for that later. We pay in some other way. There is a cost. Now let's figure out what the benefit is. That this exercise, it is the benefit is going to be hard. It doesn't sound like that's hard. That's the hard part, because the cost, you can sit down, you can list it. right? Makes you feel like shit that day, ruins your day, you know, starts your day off badly, you know, harms my relationship with my son, whatever that is, or something like that. There's always cost, right? Or it doesn't keep, it wouldn't, you don't have the constant complaint if there isn't a cost somewhere. There's a cost. What is the benefit? That's the real exercise. That's the hard part of this exercise. And at every one of these, now here's what makes it hard, because admitting it could make you be mad at yourself or could make you judge yourself. This is why you can't judge yourself on this. So you basically just say, right? I can say I jokingly said I felt superior to my husband because I always put the dishes away in the dishwasher, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to feel superior. And it embarrasses me that when I feel superior like that, it embarrasses me that I act like that or think like that. But I have to admit that without judgment. That is what's going on. That is the benefit I get. I get to feel superior, right? I get to feel better than. I get to feel whatever it is. There's a something I get out of this. And now here's what's interesting is because to be a victim is a vulnerable thing. I am wired to never be that. So it's difficult for me to see when people choose, and I say choose, I don't even know if it's choice, but basically move in the direction of victim, because that is so opposite of the way that I am wired. I could be being beaten by someone and I wouldn't admit I'm a victim. I mean, it's like I'm not wired to be that way. I will rise victorious, right? So it's like it is harmful for us to view ourselves as victims. That's a bad way to live, but it's so easy for me not to do that it's cheap talk. It's definitely a view from the cheap seats for me to even talk about that, right? So if I offended anybody, I hope I didn't. But okay, so Francine, to you.
Hey, Cher. Thank you for everything. Wow, this is so good. And I feel like I'm already beginning to experience some of it. It's just kind of happened. I think the thing that really, there are a lot of things that you said here that really, but I think when I had an opportunity where I was going to have a conversation with my friend again, and I said, okay, help me God, because I'm so tired. I'm so tired of myself. I'm so tired of everything that we've been going through. So I said, I just felt like I'm going to change my behavior here. I'm going to come with questions. I'm going to just listen and just ask questions instead of defending, pointing finger, making blame, whatever it was I was doing. But through that whole process, even though sometimes her voice would elevate and I could hear her ego coming out, I would just go back and say, okay, what's the question I need to ask here? And so through that process, it was more calmer and we got through the conversation, but that anger was there. And I said to myself, I see the anger, but just what you said before, I could see myself. I could see things about myself. It just humbled me. But I also find myself wanting to, I felt really bad about it, but I also felt myself wanting to judge myself. I may have gone there, but then I pulled myself back just saying, okay, Francine. But of course, the mind, let's just check out. It's too much, it's overwhelming. But man, I could really see myself and it did overwhelm me a little bit, made me humbled, but made me feel a little bad as well. Made me feel like, man, I'm not ever getting what I want. That's how I was feeling. Like, I'm never getting what I want. Why do I have to be the one that had to be the bigger person? Why I have to be that person? So it was those kind of things that's going on with me. But
so
yeah,
this is a perfect thing to do. Perfect thing to do this exercise on. This is a perfect thing to do the exercise on. Yeah, I think so. This is the way I want you to view it, right? All of us need to do this. We are babies at this. We are just learning how to do this. We're babies. So imagine you had a baby that was learning to walk. Would you say to the baby, if you can't walk across the room, don't even bother. Don't even bother to try to walk. Don't even bother. Just go sit down over there. If you can't walk across the room, don't. They're babies. They're just like, they can take 2 steps and they fall down. That's us, where we're at. And of course, we see it and go, oh, okay. And I'll tell you what I do is I say, oh, I'm human. Oh, okay. I see why this is happening. Right? Because I work very hard, and that's almost my prayer every day is, I'm going to screw up today. I know I am because I do. That's what humans do. and help me to just put it in the proper perspective.
Mhm.
So if I killed someone, I would probably hate myself, right? And maybe should, right? You know what I mean? But
Yes.
I don't, so it's like, no, help me put this in proper perspective and love myself to whatever is the ultimate conclusion of whatever it is. And lately, my husband and I have both been a little stressed, and he'll say things that, and I say, what, do you think I'm a moron? He always says no because he, believes in safety, I'm guessing. But anyway, and then this morning I woke up and like, why am I being mean like that? Why am I acting like that? I know he doesn't think I'm a moron. I know that's not why. He's just wound tight right now. His brother just died. Cheryl, can you calm down a little bit? Can you be a loving wife? Right? I don't think that's God's voice because God's kinder than that. But it's just like, yeah. So that's my prayer is, can I just be, and it's a one of many thing, right? My thing is usually, real quick story. My sister-in-law invited either me or Nick to speak about my brother-in-law at the funeral tomorrow. I could rise to the occasion, but it's like, that seems inappropriate. I mean, I knew him and I loved him, but I mean, he was a Marine, he was all these things and all these people knew him, and right. So I said, Nick, do you, and he's a 5, ixnay on the, I mean, there's no possible way he was going to do that. So I just texted her back and just said, we're very honored that you asked us, but neither one of us feels comfortable doing that. And she came back scaredy cats with LOL, right? So, and it was fine. But in the past, I would have felt I must step up. It's like it was not appropriate for me to do that, right? And it's just, it just feels so good to just be me and not feel like I must because I'm an 8 or whatever, because I'm a public speaker. It's what I do, right? And it's like, yeah, you're going to be at a funeral, what, entertaining these people? What the fuck is that? I mean, stop. So I feel good. Right? Okay. So I want to say this idea of the humble, just think of that little baby. There's no reason to be humble. I mean, feeling humble, like in the proper perspective, that's fine, but no beating yourself up because we're new at this, right? And not only are we new at this, we are so new at this, but we know that eventually we're all going to be teaching other people how to do this when we sponsor them. This is how we're going to do it, right? This is the first little piece of step 6. We have 3 more pieces after this. This is the first piece. Is just this little stuff, and you're going to work on this. No judgment whatsoever. It's all just information. And if you have to, put it in the third person so you can say it's not even me. All right. You can write about Francine instead of yourself if you want to do that. But the idea is I want that's why I want it to be defenses, not defects. I want it to be right because I want to be able to see this and analyze it a little bit so that I am entirely ready to have it gone. Liz, to you.
I'm a 4. I just want to go back to that feeling thing. So yeah, I can't say that I feel. But I can feel what the other person would feel if I say, when you do this, I feel like. I mean, for me, I think it would instantly put like lemon in the milk and it would go sour. Accusatory to me. It's a kind of even manipulative. Don't do this so that I don't feel that way. Like the person then is in between what the plans or the things has to do or things would happen and my feelings. So that hurting me. So I think it's kind of manipulative. Like, don't do this so that I don't feel like that. When you do or don't do something, I feel I don't like that when my days is ruined because I waited for you.
Okay.
It's a statement.
Okay, so I'm going to move on because I do, and I see that there's other people that have their hands raised. We'll come back to you. I want to go out here because Liz, what you're saying is exactly the next piece of this. So hold on, let me share my screen and we will move on. What happens is that ego jumps up. And I believe, I haven't read this anywhere, but I feel it's so true. And I think this is where every book that's been written that's out there about the 12 steps in Enneagram kind of fall apart about this time, right? So that's why I'm being very meticulous on how I'm rolling this out. So it is tied to your type, some parts of your type, your passion, which has caused your suffering, your basic fear, your basic desire, your underlying emotion, and sometimes the time frame. When I talk about that 2s, 3s, and 4s, the past is very alive for them. 5, 6, and 7s kind of pitch themselves into the future. 8, 9, and 1 live in the present. So that might be tied to that. Now, you all see this, but I'm going to cover these one at a time. I will go quickly take a picture while I'm talking so that you have that. Let's start with 1. So the passion of the 1 is self-anger. So it's anger and it's at themselves. The emotion that underlies everything, that underlying emotion, it's not the core emotion because it's not your true self, but it's that is anger. Their basic fear is of being defective. Their basic desire is to be virtuous, and they live in the present. Now, here's how it works. And this, Liz, this is how it ties back to you. All right. This is the sequence of events that happen. Something happens. You have feelings about it. Your ego structure defends you without permission. Okay. Something happens, whatever it is, you have feelings about it, and then your ego just jumps up and says, oh my God, she's in pain, right? And so it will jump up and defend you without permission. Those defenses are the ones that are tied to this exercise that we're doing right now. It's tied back to one of these things, almost for sure. Okay, so that's the one. Ones, take a picture of that so you have it. All right, let's go to 2. So the 2, the intuitive healer, their passion is pride. Their emotion, the underlying emotion is shame. Their basic fear is to be being unloved or unlovable in some cases. Their basic desire is to feel loved. They also, the past is very alive to them. Once again, something happens. They have feelings about it. Your ego structure jumps up and defends you without your permission, right? It's like, oh, she's hurting. Right? And defends. And once again, the defense is tied to the type that you are. So the 8 would defend in anger, right? Does that make sense? Okay. And once again, at the bottom, it says, are you about ready to have this defense removed? And the goal is step 6 is I'm trying to get you to the point where you are like very ready to have that defense removed. So 2s, take a picture of this, and we're going to move on to 3. Okay. For the 3, all right. Type 3, the passion is deceit and usually self-deceit. They lie to themselves. The emotion that underlies them is shame. The basic fear is they have no value apart from their achievements, and their basic desire is to be desirable. And then once again, the past is also very alive for them. So 3s, take a picture of this. For 4s, the type 4, the creative alchemist, their passion is envy. The emotion that underlines everything is also shame. Their basic fear is that they fear that they will have no personal significance or have no personal significance. And their basic desire is to create an identity. They want to create an identity. And part of the problem is they get their value from outside, and they're trying to create an identity from inside, is their basic desire. So that can cause problems. Okay. And once again, their time the past is also very alive for them. So 4s, take a picture of this. All right, so 5s, the type 5, the kind wizard, their passion is avarice. Their emotion is fear. And avarice means like usually it's a collection of knowledge. They basically hoard knowledge. They will gather knowledge. Their basic emotion is fear. Their basic fear is to be incapable or incompetent. And their basic desire is to be competent. And they pitch themselves into the future. That's why they amass knowledge, because they want to know. They feel like knowledge is the answer to everything, and they want to know everything that they can know. So 5s, take a picture of that. 6s. Okay, the passion of the 6 is fear. The underlying emotion is fear. Their basic fear is of having no support. Their basic desire is to find security and support. And they will pitch themselves into a very dark future sometimes. Right? They pitch themselves into the future. They're the ones that make the lists of all the things that could possibly go wrong as a means to protect themselves. So 6s, take a picture of this. All right, 7s. The passion is gluttony, and all that means is more. That's all it means, really. Their basic emotion is fear. Their basic fear is to be trapped in pain. They really do not like being trapped. It's the reason they don't like to be bored. It's all kind of tied to that. Their basic desire is to find fulfillment and the time that they live in this future. So they will pitch themselves into a glorious future, sometimes completely missing the present as they pitch themselves. They're the ones that make the grandiose plans. Okay. 7s, take a picture of this. Cheryl, I can hear you laughing. Okay. Type 8s. They're the lion-hearted protector. The passion is a lust for intensity. The emotion is anger. The underlying emotion is anger. The basic fear is to be controlled. And it's being controlled and potentially harmed. I mean, afraid of harm. And then the basic desire is to determine their own course or be in control. And the time that they live in is the present. So 8s take a picture of that, and 9s. The passion is sloth, and what that really means is just living in delay, comfortable delaying things instead of handling them right now. The emotion underlying is anger, which is usually denied anger. Their basic fear is annihilation, separation, loss, that kind of thing. Their basic desire is to have peace of mind, and their time is present. So they live in the present. Okay, Ambra, go ahead.
Thank you, Cher. Yeah, I just want to tell you, it's really complicated today. You know, sometimes I think I need about like some, I don't know, some teacher, okay? Like some, I don't know, because it's complicated. No, I just want to ask you, can you give me another example about cost, benefit, or like persistent complaint, for example? I have to put something, you know, I think about this exercise.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple questions, Ambra. Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask is there something that you bitch about all the time?
Which is bitch, sorry.
Bitch, like whine, cry, like my sister, when we were teenagers, my sister wore my clothes all the time. It's like, what is something that you bitch about, something you complain about in your life?
Oh,
You never complain? You don't complain?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. For example, right now I feel that someone ignore me in some group where I am. And I don't know if it's form of complaint, but
okay, that's fine. All right, let's go with that. Okay, so that person ignores you. Okay, and how do you react when they ignore you? Inside or outside, doesn't matter. Inside or outside.
Oh, got it. Yeah. I think that it's really bad. I feel that, you know, I react that I feel that I think in that point that she ignored me, and I try to say, I feel that you ignore me. I try to share what I see, what I feel, that I feel frustration about that. I try to do that.
Okay, so it's...
But she continue to ignore me.
And they say,
okay, she's really bad.
Okay, here it is. She ignores you. It pisses you off. Right? That's the simple way that it's there. Okay. So that is, it happens over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay. So that is a fixed way of being pissed off, a persistent complaint. She ignores me. Those two things, whether they're true or not, is beside the point, right? So you have a choice here, and that is, I can live like that forever. I can live in that cycle forever, or I can sit down and analyze it and say, what is that costing me? It's costing me peace, potentially costing me a friendship, blah, 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 right? But you are getting a benefit out of that too, or you wouldn't keep doing it. I mean, it sounds so weird, but that is the way human beings work. If we do not get a benefit out of it, we do not do it. Like, I've analyzed my entire life why I'm a compulsive eater. There's like 14 reasons. One of them is I like food. One of them, I like intensity, and I like intense flavors. So that is one of the areas that I have this lust for intensity. And it's just now becoming a realization of mine. Super sweet, super salty, things nobody else can even eat. I can eat because they're that intensity, right? So I'm trying to figure out a way to turn the need for that intensity into like working out or something. Wouldn't that be nice, instead of eating potato chips? You know, but anyway, so we'll see. Does that make sense? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to write down those two things, and you're going to, and we're not going to analyze it here right now. We can't. What is the cost and what is the benefit that you get out of that? Be really honest with yourself without judgment.
The benefit can be that I continue to be a victim about the situation, or
how lovely to, yes, you've decided that for some reason you like being a victim here. Okay. And if that's it, that's fine, but that's what you want to do. So what you have is that, and just several in your life that are like that, because all of us complain. And when that one, it just keeps coming up, the same thing over and over, that's what we want to look at, because it's probably time.
In fact, the judge is, another time happened that someone ignored me. It's not the first time, it's a pattern.
Well, and I will say, thank you, Amber. One of the things I do want to say, by the way, is these are not imagined things, by the way. I'm not acting like they're not important in there, like you've imagined these. Some of them come from traumas, past traumas. Right? It comes from, so I would say, right, so there's something in your past where you felt ignored, and so you're more sensitive to it now. And I get that. I'm not trying to discount that at all. The real issue here is, how do I get out of this pattern? That's really what we're looking at. And the racket is all about identifying the pattern. And it's not every pattern in our lives. It's the ones that just keep returning. that I'm sick of being part of. That's why you're only going to do 2 or 3 of them, right? Maybe you even do 10. I don't know. Maybe you live in a world where you got a lot of that shit going on. I don't know. But but that's the kind of thing that you want to look at. So you have one, and be looking at those. And where you look is what are things that I complain about? Like I complain about the DMV. I had to go to the DMV because we needed real IDs in order to get on a plane. And I sat in the DMV when you sit there a long time. We had an appointment, but I sat there and I literally prayed, and I prayed that God would give us someone who was kind and helpful. I don't even care if he had 3 eyes. I don't care if he was male, female. I care nothing about that. Just someone who is kind and helpful. And I approached with love, and guess what? We got someone who was kind and helpful. I mean, it was just an amazing thing. At the DMV, there was someone who, he was great. He was really just wonderful. I thought it was great. And then I go, why did I worry? Because I did. Why did I lose sleep over this? Anyway, prayer is an amazing thing. Thank you, Ambra. All right, Shirley, to you.
Well, this is amazing. It's like, you know, that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, where you're saying, yes, consider the small stuff. I love it. But I think I'm ahead of myself because I want to jump to process about like self-importance, and you want to just stay in the process now, right? I'm realizing that all the things that irritate me that, you know, have to do with that, the benefit is my self-importance as a
child. It makes me feel important. It makes me, no, that's exactly what you want to do.
Oh, okay.
That's what you want. Yeah.
I just wanted to, you know, say, wow, self-importance. There it is.
Yeah. And that, by the way, is ties to the passion of the 2, pride. And most 2s that don't know they're 2s will say, I'm not proud. See what I'm saying? But now you're seeing it. And that's really what it's about. That's why I wanted to bring those up so that you understand, like, come back to you. I was going to say regurgitate, but that sounded disgusting. So sorry.
Well, when I first heard you say a 2 is proud, I thought, wait, that's the last thing I am. Not
exactly.
The first thing.
And now you see it. Right. And that's what you want. Okay. So perfect. Okay. Thank you, Shirley. Carmen, to you.
Quick question. We're talking a lot about other people. What about myself? Things that I rag on myself about.
Yeah. I would say try it. Seriously, I haven't done that. But I think, you know what, I'm not sure that I haven't done that, because I will tell you, I spent a lot, right after this Landmark Forum, I traveled a lot and I was alone a lot, and I was always beating myself up. And somewhere along the line that stopped. And I think I probably did this on that. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I would be really curious. Do it. And then come back and share on that, because I think so. And once again, we really do want to approach this. It's really funny. I'm always looking at people, and usually everybody is like, cheerful and ready to go. And you all look like, oh my God, what is she asking us to do? So,
okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Carmen. Joy, to you.
I just heard what Carmen said, and that is why I stopped beating myself up. That's how I stopped beating myself up originally, and found another way to deal with when I was beating myself, what I would say. And now I believe it. It's not useful. So I refuse to do it. And I think that even we do this constantly when we are ready for change in program. We you know, even what I've done with food for so long, like I keep doing this night eating. This is what always happened. And, you know, we have a fixed way of being. When something uncomfortable comes up, and now that's shifting for me because it was not working. So thanks.
Thank you. And once again, the realization that it is your ego, right? It is that ego that jumps up and says, go have a bag of potato chips. You really need it right now, right? Do I really need it right now? Lately, the answer to that was yes, unfortunately, but I'm not perfect. Everybody good? Any questions or comments? Everybody ready for your homework? Now, next week in the breakout rooms, you're going to share on these. You're going to say, here is my fixed way. No, usually start with the complaint. Here's what I'm complaining about. Here's this, like the situation, like I told you with my husband, right? And once again, please don't feel like every single one of these is going to be you giving in on every single thing, because that isn't the way it's going to work. That just happens to be mine, because you probably noticed I don't give in on anything, but I do now. So, right. So, and this is those patterns that have shown I'm assuming everybody else has patterns like this in their life. Can I have some nods? Okay, yeah, I'm not the only one. That's good to know. Very good to know. Go ahead, Lori.
I just I wanted to do a little business, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
You probably knew that.
I did.
I just want to remind everybody, so we'll be starting breakout rooms again next week. And unfortunately, I won't be here, but Joy's back, so everything will be good. And so she will be doing the breakout rooms. I have the list of who we've been using or who has been leaders in breakout rooms, so we will continue with that list. I just want to remind you, if you're on that list, and everyone else too, it's a really good idea to keep an eye on your chat during the meetings. You don't have to have it on all the time, but check it once in a while. But particularly if you're set to be a leader in a breakout room, because I'm usually chatting with you at the beginning just to make sure you're good to go. So just make use of that tool, especially reach out with each other too, share phone numbers, share for fellowship, for outreach. In the chat, everybody would like to see their type slide again. Is that something we can post on the website?
Yeah, I can pull them up right now too. Okay, so everybody sees that with your type. So everybody, if you need to jot this down, we'll leave this up for a couple minutes.
And as I said, I will post this on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'll give you this slide, and Laura, you can put that out on that main page. Everybody good? The racket form's out on the website right now.
Okay.
And it's also under your type assignment.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, let me stop sharing. Everybody has it? Okay. Ambra, to you.
Yeah, sorry, I need help. I think I can do that with someone. I just want to ask you, there is some example like about this way to, because for example, I just want to tell you, sorry, Cher, that for example, fixed way of being.
Fixed way of being. That means I am always like this. I always react this way. It's very
okay, got it.
Doesn't move. I always react this way. So this person does this, I react this way.
Okay, and I have to put 3 way that I react and 3 way that I complain, or he can put more?
No, I mean, you just say, somebody ignores me and I react this way. Somebody like yells at me, I react this way. My husband doesn't put dishes in the dishwasher, I react this way. And then on each of those, so however you want to do it, you want to come up with 2 or 3. And once again, I'm assuming I have like 150 of these in my life, have throughout my life. And on each one of them, at some point, it drives me crazy enough that I sit down and I do a racket sheet on it. Because I want to know, what am I getting out of this? Because why do I keep doing this if I'm not getting anything out of it? And once I see what I'm getting out of it, or what my ego is getting out of it, I can let it go. Or I can pray as part of step 7 for God to help me let it go. This is really the way it works. And then your life ends up better because you're not in this constant whatever is going on.
Yeah. And can I just tell you that the most of the time I live in situation like that, or I try to say something and then I can leave even, I don't have more choice sometimes.
But even leaving, right? There's still something going on inside your head. It's still living rent free in your head.
It's not the solution.
If the cost is that it's living rent free inside your head, figure out why this is still part of your life, right? Because all of that, I mean, it sounds weird, but it is true most of the time. 100% probably not. There's nothing 100% of the time true, but okay. Jim, to you. Thank you, Ambra.
Thank you.
Jim.
Thank you, Cher. Okay, everything was going swimmingly until I lost a broadband feed, and by the time I got back into the room, you're going through type 1, 2, 3 up to 9. So I joined beyond myself, and that's okay, because I presume that these slides are, those particular parts of today's presentation are going to be available on the website at a particular point. Maybe.
I don't put slides out there usually. Well, it's a summary of all the stuff that you guys already know. You already know your your passion, your basic fear, your all of that.
Yeah.
So from other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can
Yeah.
I can post the. Go ahead, Joy. Go ahead.
We will post what Lauren already posted in the chat, which is the 9 types, and each one, the passion, the emotion, the basic fear, the basic desire. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put that up.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think, and then once again, that and that slide, it truly is that something happens and I react to that something, and it is my ego that is reacting to that something, right? So even in these things where it's the racket, this is your ego jumping up, defending you without your permission. So what we need to do is step back from it and say, what is going on here? What is the cost? And what am I getting out of this? Or what is my ego getting out of this, right? Is the ego, am I taking care of my ego here as opposed to my true self? That's entirely possible too. I don't know. As we go through this, I wish I could be in every single breakout room next week, because I would love to hear what people come up with. And then I'll know I'm not the only person in the world that lives in the middle of all that.
There was a part on the, in a kind of a future slide, you gave a little synopsis of each type. And at the bottom of it, there was past, present, future.
Yeah. And that's because the ones at the top.
What does that mean?
So that just means, so 2s, 3s, and 4s, the past is very alive to them.
Okay.
Now, is that tied to this? I'm not sure. So that's what I'm talking. Nobody actually talks about time frame. I didn't know how to say that, but basically 2s, 3s, and 4s, the past is very alive. 5, 6, and 7s pitch themselves into the future. 8, 9s, and 1s basically live in the present. The problem is we all believe that everybody else views the world the same way we do, and they don't. My sister and brother, I have a brother that's a 4, and my sister's a 3. They tell stories from childhood that I go, what? I remember that person was like at our house, the vivid memories that they have, it just astounds me, because the past is like it happened yesterday. And for me, it happened 50 years ago. What? Right? And I used to say to my brother, and I'm embarrassed about that, I say, can't you just get over it? What a horrible thing for an 8 to say to a 4. Can't you just get over it? The answer was no.
Thanks, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for recovering with us.